Well, also in Birmingham today, the Foodbank charity FareShare say the amount of food that they're receiving isn't enough to meet demand. Now, that's in part because every month they're getting 100 tonnes less surplus food from supermarkets and other suppliers than they were this time last year. Well, Jay Akbar has been to one of their distribution sites and he sent us this report, and it's not looking good.
No, CL, especially going into winter. Now, what FareShare does is they take food like this from supermarkets and other suppliers and they redistribute it to thousands of food banks and community groups across the country. Now, as you can see behind me, there's less of it, and we're talking several tons less every single month. And you might be thinking stingy supermarkets aren't donating enough food, and unfortunately, that's simply not the case. They've got their food waste to think about, and on top of that, there is a HGV shortage, and also, of course, the war in Ukraine is affecting supply chains. All of that combined means like factories like this, which many families depend on, simply aren't as full as they used to be, as their transport manager told me a little bit earlier.
This warehouse used to be full, if you can imagine, okay, all the way from that wall to that wall, 2 pallets deep, this high, full of veg, fruit and veg, talking potatoes, strawberries, carrots, you name it. We've got the racking over here, which has got sauces and tins, but now it's just bare. There's a couple of pallets, as you can see, and behind you, 1 pallet of cereals. We used to have 20 pallets of cereals, and it's a similar situation in our chiller, where we keep all of our meats and dairies. Do you want me to have a look?
Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look, yeah.
Jay, you can see this is one of our chillers. This is our dairy chiller. Now, this is normally full of stock. We're talking about yogurts to here. We're talking about milk down here, where at the moment we've got 1 packet of milk. We're talking about juices, probably this high, almost as tall as me. And we're talking about cheese, which right now we've got strawberry milkshakes instead of. We're still providing dairy to our groups and our members, but actually what we're not providing is basic foods, like ham, like cheese. I mean, right now, people need milk, and this is all we've got for tomorrow's orders. We just haven't got enough food.
That last picture was particularly striking, and now we can bring in Laura Spencer, who is Head of Development here. So, Laura, how have we gotten to this point?
Well, we're really grateful to the food industry for all the support they give us, but it's fair to say that the food coming into us right now just doesn't meet the unprecedented levels of demand we're seeing due to the cost of living crisis. And that's because the food supply chain is suffering with the war in Ukraine. It's having a huge impact. There's a labour shortage around HGV drivers, which means there's just not people there to transport the food around, and the costs are affecting the food supply chain too, and the food industry are having to make their own efficiencies. So there's a number of reasons why we end up with lower levels of food here in FareShare.
Yeah, got it. And of course, we're only a few miles away from where the Conservatives are having their party conference, and you've got a stall there. And what are you telling the politicians?
Well, we're asking the government to help unlock surplus food for us. We know there's 2 million tonnes of surplus food out there that's still good to eat and could go to people. Through their help, they could help us to basically neutralise the cost to the food industry. So it costs them the same as it would to send it to waste or anaerobic digestion, and that unlocks more food for us to redistribute. So 25 million would make enough food for 100 million meals, which is needed now more than ever.
Absolutely. Laura, thank you so much. And of course, this does speak to a wider problem. An increasing number of people need the help of food banks and charities. And while those food banks and charities, they say they need help too.